Hello, this is Sela1 with a new video review. Today I have the Revoltechs number 006 and 011, the Evangelion Production Model Unit 02, and the Evangelion Prototype Unit 00 Blue, manufactured by Kaiyodo on its line Revoltech and sculpted by Katsuhisa Yamaguchi. Released on 2006 or 2011 for the 10th anniversary of Neon Genesis Evangelion. These are the third and fifth Evangelion releases. The first one was Evangelion Unit 1, the second was Evangelion Unit 00, the yellow version, and the fourth is Evangelion Unit 3. They have the original square box with the side illustration that is present in the figures nowadays, and although they don't have many points of articulation as the figures now, on their time they were very good. And this is why I collect them, because these are some of the best figures that there are of Neon Genesis Evangelion that don't require a large amount of assembly like the Bandai models. So, well, let's open them so that you can check them out. So here we have the figures out of the boxes. I'm not going to waste much time describing the articulations of these Evangelions again, because they are basically the same in all the figures previous to those of Evangelion, of Rebuild of Evangelion, and even those of Evangelion 1.0 were like these ones. There is an articulation on the neck, one on the shoulder, one on the elbow, one on the wrist, one halfway into the torso, one on the knee, and one in the ankle. There is there are two special articulations on the hip, one that allows the leg to rotate and one that allows it to kick forward and backward. Those two articulations are rather, well, I'm not going to say that they are fragile, because in all the figures I have only broken one of them, and it was because I didn't know how to handle them properly, and between the paint and the glossy finish that this figure have, they stuck together and I tried to force them and I ended up breaking it. So it's one of the things that you need to be careful about. These figures have this glossy finish on top that is a dust magnet. Once it's stuck there forever. You cannot remove it without damaging the paint. And it's another thing that I wanted to point about these figures. I have, on the previous review of Evangelion Unit 0, the yellow version, I mentioned that the blister of the figure had yellowed significantly. Now I notice that these two figures are beginning to yellow too, well, the blisters, which is strange because, as I said, they are on a dark cabinet and they are back to back, so the light doesn't really get to it. But I guess it's just the oxygen or something like that. I'm not sure about how this thing works, how that part of the figure aging works. It could also be simply that there are remnants of body fat in my fingers that are stuck in the figure. I try to wash my hands thoroughly whenever I'm going to handle these figures, because it's especially noticeable in the joints of Evangelion Unit 0 that are white, that there are a lot of staining on top. So since I'm one of those people who believe that you really shouldn't have a toy if you're not going to at least pose it once in a while, especially this kind of action figure, then I don't know, it's kind of boring. So some people say that you should really, if you're going to collect them, you should keep them in their box and away from everything. But for me that is kind of boring. So if you handle these kinds of figure, bear in mind that they are by now 20 years old, and some of the plastics age faster than the others. Some of the paint may start to crackle and to chip. For example, you can see here on the arm of my Unit 2 that there is this tiny mishap here. There you go. You can see that the painting has begun to crackle. Besides that, the figures are in very good condition. So yes, it's mostly that. Just be careful with them. especially when handling. Now, one thing I like a lot about these Evangelion figures is that they keep the silhouette of the Evangelions of Neon Genesis Evangelion very good. The tiny waist and the very broad shoulders. And I think that very few figures manage to capture that body proportions perfectly. The one thing that I don't like is the size of the hands. When you think about it, given the size of the articulation, the hands of these Evas are huge. I mean, look at the size of this Eva's hand. Well, not that much, but this one. They are very long, they're big, bulky. A hand is supposed to be around the size of your head, so taking the size of the head of the Eva, the hands are way too big. But as I said, it's a byproduct of the size of the articulation. Back then, the articulations for the Revoltechs were made in only a few sizes, instead of making the joint to the size of the figure, it was made the other way around. Now, these figures come with a lot of weaponry and other accessories, besides the always present umbilical cable for both units. We have for Evangelion Unit 0 the sniper rifle, used in one of the episodes, very nicely detailed. We have a pallet gun, like pretty much every other Eva. We have the tiny progressive knife, the box cutter version, and we have an N2 mine that actually has an N2 written on it. It's a very nice detail here. But yeah, and besides, we have the come here. The positron rifle that is used on the, I think it was the 9th episode of the series. How does it go? Oh, like this. Like this. This thing is huge. You actually have to remove the pylon of one of the Evas you want to use it with. Then insert the hand in this shaft here and then reassemble this part. It's a really cool feature, but given the trouble that it is to remove the pylon and the trouble it may cause later, such as damaging the paint, then I'd have second thoughts about using it nowadays. But it's a really cool addition. It's one of the biggest weapons that comes with this generation of Evangelions. Now, Evangelion Unit 2 comes with its own assortment of weapons. We have the pallet gun again. We have a handgun that has a silencer on it. I don't know if they recycled this from another figure. We have the progressive knife, box cutter edition. And we have two melee weapons that are seen only with Evangelion Unit 2. We have its battle axe. And we have the Sonic Glaive, I think it's called. It's a spear-like thing. But it has another problem. The thing is that the only hands that this ever has that can actually hold the spear are the ones that are used for the rifle. So you have to insert the hand and the spear in the hand and slide it all the way here. And this causes a problem with the paint. You can see here, more or less, that the paint is scratched. So, well, it's a nice feature because a few other figures can hold their weapons like this. It causes a lot of trouble on the long run because the paint starts to get blurry, scratched, cracked, and whatnot. So it's a plus because I love the color of the spear, this metallic green. But well, once you start handling them, you start to get into trouble because these figures don't really take much of a views, even when considering all the details that they have. You can see here the details of both of the figures' heads. I think they are, well, pretty good, even for those back in those days. The figures back then were not that detailed, and I think that these figures were really good in bringing some detail into the Evangelions, because even the Bandai figures required a lot of assembly, didn't have much detail in the head and stuff, or that depending on how much detail you wanted is the amount of work that you would spend building them. You can even see that they have written on the side of the arm that it has Evangelion EVA 02 product, and Evangelion Unit 0 has another text that reads Evangelion 0 Proto with short prototype. So I think that this is the amount of detail that they were placing on these figures when they were made. Now, both of these figures have their set of hands. We have fists, gun-holding hands, and these accusing fingers on the bottom line, open palms. It's a nice selection. They have 8 each. So, and they were all the same, so they basically swapped the head of the Eva and repainted it new, because the body and the hands were all the same, and these two Evas and Evangelions 3 and 4 that I'll review later. But well. So, bottom line, would I recommend these figures? Well, I think that depends. Now, they are not really poseable because of their age, and they are maybe better rebuilt figures. But maybe for nostalgic sake, I'd buy these figures all over again, definitely, especially Unit 0. Like I say, they have many issues like paint and gloss, but overall I think that they are some of the best Neon Genesis Evangelion figures that there are, and I think that they have stood well the test of time. I've seen more recent figures that are not as detailed and that have not aged well. They start to show a lot of troubles very easily. So, well, that is my honest opinion. That all depends on you. You can always buy the Van Dyke figures, but you know, I have something against those, especially about assembling and painting. I don't really have the patience. But, well, it's all a matter of taste. I really like the Revoltech figures. So, well, this was One with a new video review. The Evangelion's Production Model Unit 2 and Prototype Unit 00 Blue, manufactured by Kaiyodo, on its line Revoltech and sculpted by Katsuhisa Yamaguchi. I'd say you can visit my blog or my Tumblr, because you can see the links below, but the truth is that I don't have time to publish there anymore. I'm busy with school. So you can always leave your questions and any comments. I'm going to try to answer them as soon as possible. I generally answer in the first 2 or 3 days. If you have any doubts, any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and thanks for watching and for all your support.